The cargo tug had already driven away once. Nia Brooks watched it return through the narrow strip of window, beyond the man seated to her right. It came slowly beneath the wing, towing an empty dolly. The driver stopped beside the cargo loader and lifted one hand toward a ground worker in a reflective vest. 38E gave Nia a poor angle on everything. A shoulder blocked half the window. Her leather tote was wedged beneath the seat in front of her. The edge of her laptop pressed against her ankle through the worn leather. She did not move it. The seatbelt sign was on. Around her, people had reached the stage between boarding and departure when they stopped organizing themselves. Jackets were stowed, screens were awake. A man across the aisle had already loosened his shoes. Someone, several rows back, asked a flight attendant whether the wireless network would begin working after takeoff. The aircraft door was closed. The aircraft was not moving. Nia looked down at her phone. One message remained open. Suspend shipment release on Westbridge Flight 806 pending carrier resolution. Keep all 6 units in place, unless Westbridge decides it cannot resolve. Below it was Jonah Fields' reply. Hold accepted. No offload instruction issued. She read both lines once. Then she locked the screen and placed the phone face down on the tray table. She had been precise for a reason. A hold was not an order to remove the freight. It did not require anyone to open a container. It did not tell a forklift driver to touch a seal or send 6 units back to a warehouse. It meant the carrier no longer had final authorization to move those units across the Atlantic until the shipper released them again. Westbridge could resolve the problem. Nia had left it that option. At the front of the aircraft, Dana Mercer closed a premium cabin storage compartment and checked the cabin-ready indicators on her handheld. Suite 3K was occupied. Evelyn Carrington sat inside it with the privacy panel partly raised, a magazine folded across her lap, and a glass of water on the side console. Dana passed the suite without stopping. As far as the cabin was concerned, the seating problem was finished. In the cockpit, it had not yet become a problem at all. Captain Martin Hale had the departure paperwork open on the center display. First Officer Eric Dunn was finishing the final checklist when a load control message appeared. Eric touched the screen. Cargo status changed. Martin looked over. How? Release incomplete. 6 units. Late paperwork? Eric opened the detail. His thumb stopped against the edge of the display. Shipper hauled. Martin turned fully toward him. After acceptance? Looks like it. Outside, another ground worker walked toward the belly compartment, carrying a headset. The cargo loader remained lowered, but its operator had climbed back into position. Martin keyed the ground line. Westbridge 806. We have a cargo hold showing. Is that current? The answer came through after a short burst of static. Current. Commercial cargo desk is verifying shipper authorization. Do not request push until load control clears it. Martin glanced at the clock above the instrument panel. They had been ready. The aircraft had been fueled. Bags were loaded. The cabin was secured. The bridge crew was preparing to pull away. Now, none of those facts mattered until 6 containers had a usable release status again. What changed? Martin asked. Shipper side authorization. Reason? Not in the load message. Martin released the transmit switch. Eric looked at the cargo page again. Blue Harbor Freight Systems. Martin knew the name in the way airline crews knew the names of large commercial accounts. Not personally. Not enough to know who signed what. Enough to know that 6 containers from a major freight customer were not something a ramp supervisor could wave through because the passenger cabin was ready. He reached for the interphone. Have Dana come up when she has a minute. Eric nodded. Back in row 38, the man beside Nia noticed the returning ground equipment. Thought we were leaving. Nia looked past him toward the window. So did I. He checked his watch. That thing coming back can't be good. Nia did not answer. She was tired enough that the muscles behind her eyes hurt when she focused on small text. The faded lettering on her hoodie had creased where the seatbelt crossed her waist. She pulled the belt flat and rested both hands on top of it. A flight attendant walked past, checking latches. Nobody asked Nia whether she needed anything. That was fine. She did not need a drink. She needed Westbridge to decide whether a confirmed entitlement meant what its own system said it meant. The question had begun in the cabin. It was no longer contained there. Dana entered the cockpit a minute later. Martin kept his attention on the load screen. "Do we have anybody on board connected to Blue Harbor Freight?" Dana paused. "Not that I know of. They just suspended release on 6 containers." She leaned slightly toward the display as if proximity might provide the missing information. "Is there a cargo problem?" "Cargo is fine. Authorization isn't." Dana looked back toward the cabin door. She knew premium passengers by name. She knew which travelers had requested meals, which had tight connections, which accounts carried high service priority. Blue Harbor meant nothing to her in passenger terms. "No one identified themselves to me as freight staff," she said. Martin gave a small nod. "That may not matter." The ground line sounded again. Eric answered this time. He listened, then covered the microphone with 2 fingers. "They've confirmed the hold came from an authorized shipper contact. Cargo desk is locating the account record now." Martin looked toward the closed cockpit door. "Until they do, we stay here." In 38E, Nia saw the cargo loader begin to rise. Not quickly. Hydraulics lifted the platform a few inches at a time toward the lower hold. A few passengers noticed now. One lowered his phone, another leaned toward the window. Most did not. Nia left her own phone face down. Up front, Evelyn Carrington turned another page of her magazine. Dana stood in the cockpit doorway, and on the load control display, the word "ready" disappeared. HOLD replaced it. 53 minutes earlier, Nia Brooks closed her laptop because the battery warning had reached the bottom corner of the screen. She could have found an outlet. She did not need one. The London files were already downloaded. Her meeting notes were synced. The last Blue Harbor operations call had ended 12 minutes earlier, and the only work she intended to do after boarding was change the alarm on her phone, then sleep. She sat near the Westbridge gate with a worn leather tote between her shoes and a charcoal hoodie zipped halfway to her throat. The hoodie was old enough that the fabric at the cuffs had gone smooth. It had survived warehouse openings, overnight route changes, 2 office moves, and the first-year Blue Harbor Freight Systems operated from 3 rented rooms above a tire distributor in Newark. Now Blue Harbor moved freight through more airports than Nia visited personally. She was still the founder, still the chief executive, and at that moment, mostly tired. Her London meeting was scheduled for the morning after arrival. Blue Harbor had spent 7 months negotiating the partnership. The people waiting across the Atlantic had already seen the projections, insurance structures, and route forecasts. Nia did not need another hour to prepare. She needed 5 hours without somebody asking her a question. That was why she had bought 3K. Not for the wine list, not for the lounge, not because anyone would be impressed when she walked into a conference room afterward. 3K converted into a flat bed. She had paid the full premium fare because sleep was part of the trip. Her phone vibrated. Jonah Fields. He ran Blue Harbor's operations floor when Nia was traveling and had the habit of sending messages that contained exactly what she needed and nothing else. 6 units accepted. Release remains yours until departure. Nia opened the shipment view. 6 Blue Harbor containers showed accepted at the Westbridge cargo facility. They were booked on the same London flight she was taking. That had been one reason she chose Westbridge Flight 806. The schedule worked for the meeting. The freight routing worked for Blue Harbor. And if both arrived when planned, Jonah's London counterpart could clear the shipment while Nia was already across town. No symbolism, just efficient routing. Blue Harbor's commercial account with Westbridge allowed its authorized control desk to suspend shipment release before departure while freight remained at the station. It was useful when documents changed, when a consignee requested a pause, or when a commercial issue had to be resolved before the carrier took the shipment onward. Most trips, nobody touched the control. Nia tapped the 6-unit records. Accepted. Security processing complete. Scheduled for Flight 806. No exceptions. She replied. Received. Leave normal release in place. Then she put the phone into her tote. At the bottom of the bag, beneath a folder and charging cable, her navy blazer was folded inside a thin garment sleeve. She would change after landing. Tonight, nobody in London needed a blazer from her. The boarding display changed. Premium cabin. A few passengers stood before the announcement finished. Nia stayed seated long enough to put the laptop into the tote and check the zipper twice. Her mobile boarding pass was already open when she joined the short line. Westbridge Airways, New York to London. Premium Suite, 3K. Confirmed. There was no upgrade marker. No standby notation. No requested seat change. A gate host stood beside the scanner, directing people with one hand while speaking into a headset. When Nia reached the front, the woman looked at her hoodie, then toward the longer line behind the divider. We're only boarding premium at the moment. Nia held up the phone. This is premium. The host's hand stopped halfway toward the other line. She looked at the pass, then at Nia, then back at the pass. 3K. Yes. The scanner flashed acceptance. The correction took perhaps 4 seconds. My mistake, the host said. Go ahead. Nia picked up the tote. She did not say she ran a freight company. She did not mention the 6 Blue Harbor containers already sitting beneath the same airline's control. Neither fact had anything to do with whether Westbridge should read a boarding pass before deciding where a passenger belonged. She walked into the jet bridge. Behind her, the scanner beeped for the next passenger. The sound disappeared under the ventilation fans. By the time Nia reached the aircraft door, the gate exchange had already become too small to hold anyone else's attention. That was usually how these moments worked. Brief enough to deny importance. Ordinary enough to survive repetition. She stepped aboard. A cabin attendant greeted her and looked at the pass. 3K is on your left. Thank you. Nia moved into the premium cabin. The overhead lighting was softer there. Privacy shelves divided the suites. Bottled water had been placed beside the seats. Blankets were folded beneath the side consoles. 3K sat several rows ahead. For the first time since leaving Blue Harbor's office, Nia allowed herself to calculate sleep instead of schedules. Boarding would take another 20 minutes. Meal service could be skipped. If departure stayed close to schedule, she could lower the seat after takeoff and remain there until the approach into London. Enough. She passed 2K, then stopped. Someone was already sitting in 3K. The woman had removed her shoes. A magazine rested open across her knees. Her handbag occupied the side compartment. On the console beside her sat an empty glass. Nia checked the suite number. 3K. Then the boarding pass on her phone. 3K. The passenger looked up. Her eyes went first to Nia's hoodie, then to the empty glass. She picked it up and held it toward her. Would you take this? Nia did not reach for it. She looked once more at the number beside the suite. 3K had been confirmed before she entered the aircraft. It was still confirmed now. I think you have my seat. The glass remained in Evelyn Carrington's hand. For a second, she did not lower it. Nia stood beside suite 3K, with her leather tote against her leg and her boarding pass still open on her phone. Boarding traffic moved behind her in short bursts. A suitcase wheel struck the edge of a divider. Someone farther back apologized and kept moving. Evelyn looked at Nia's screen, then at her hoodie. Oh. She placed the glass on the console. I thought you were with the crew. Nia did not answer that. My pass says 3K. Evelyn glanced at the suite number beside the privacy shell, as if it had become relevant only now. My office arranged this seat. She said it without hostility, more like a fact that normally ended questions. Nia looked at the handbag already inside the side compartment. Evelyn's shoes were beneath the footwell. A blanket had been unfolded and placed behind her back. She had not accidentally sat down for 30 seconds. She had settled in. Do you have a boarding pass for 3K? Nia asked. Evelyn gave a small exhale through her nose. My concierge handles the details. A passenger waiting behind Nia shifted his roller bag to the other hand. Nia stepped half a pace toward the suite wall to clear more of the aisle. She did not leave. A flight attendant approached from the forward galley. Dana Mercer wore the darker jacket used by the lead cabin crew and carried a handheld tablet against one forearm. She looked first at the blocked aisle, then at Evelyn, then at Nia. Can I help? Evelyn answered before Nia could. There seems to be some confusion with my suite. Dana's expression changed slightly at the surname when Evelyn gave it. Carrington? Yes. Of course. Dana unlocked the tablet. Nia noticed the sequence. Evelyn's name first. Then the screen. Dana tapped through the premium manifest. I have Ms. Carrington here. Evelyn leaned back again. Nia held out her phone. And I have 3K. Dana looked at the mobile pass. Her eyes stayed on it longer than the gate hosts had. Not because the information was difficult. The screen was clean. Nia Brooks. Premium suite. 3K. Confirmed. Dana took the tablet in both hands. Give me a moment. She searched Nia's surname. The cabin map opened. 3K showed occupied in the boarding system because Nia had already scanned onto the aircraft. Beside the seat was her name. Nia Brooks. Confirmed. Dana's thumb stopped. She opened Evelyn's record. Evelyn Carrington. 12C. Confirmed. Neither line carried a duplicate warning. Neither showed a system reassignment. No second passenger appeared under 3K. There was nothing to reconcile. Dana read the screen again. Across the aisle, Peter Langford lowered the top edge of his newspaper just enough to see the tablet in Dana's hands. He had boarded several minutes earlier and had been watching without making himself part of the exchange. Evelyn reached for her water. My office requested this suite days ago. Dana looked at her. I see your profile. That was not the same thing as saying the seat belonged to her. Nia heard the difference. So did Dana. A second flight attendant, Tessa Alvarez, came forward, carrying a stack of service cards. Do you need me to hold boarding? No, Dana said. Keep them moving. Tessa looked at 3K, then at the tablet. Seat issue? I've got it. Tessa stepped aside and began directing passengers around Nia one at a time. Nobody stopped boarding. That mattered. The aircraft continued absorbing passengers, while Nia's confirmed seat remained occupied by someone whose own confirmed seat was somewhere else. Evelyn opened her magazine again, but did not resume reading. I really don't want to move twice, she said. My office was very specific. Dana tapped Evelyn's record. There was a small service profile marker beside her name. Nia could not see the text from where she stood. She could see Dana recognize it. Dana's shoulders changed position by less than an inch. Enough. She looked at Evelyn's handbag, already stored. Then, at the line, moving past. Then at Nia, still standing with everything she owned for the flight packed and ready to move. Miss Brooks, Dana said, let me see what I can do here. Nia looked at the tablet. You have both assignments? Yes. And mine still says 3K? Dana paused. Yes. Evelyn turned one page of the magazine. The paper made a clean, dry sound. Dana added, there may be a service request attached to Miss Carrington's account that hasn't fully populated into the cabin view. Nia's phone remained in her hand. Her pass had not changed. Neither had the cabin map. Tessa returned from the aisle. Boarding still moving. Good. Dana refreshed the screen. Nothing moved. 3K remained Nia Brooks. 12C remained Evelyn Carrington. Nia watched Dana's thumb hover over the service profile icon. The problem was becoming more specific with every tap, and less connected to the seat assignments. Would you like me to wait here? Nia asked. For just a minute. Dana stepped closer to 3K and lowered her voice with Evelyn. Nia could hear enough. I'm checking what your concierge requested. Thank you. Not whether Evelyn belonged in the seat. What had been requested for her. Nia shifted her tote away from the passing wheels of another carry-on. The leather rubbed against the base of the suite wall. A man boarding behind her showed his pass to Tessa. She pointed him toward his row. He went there. No discussion. No interpretation. Just the seat printed on his screen. Nia watched him disappear down the aisle. Dana finished reading whatever sat behind the service icon. She did not tell Evelyn to gather her shoes. She did not point toward 12C. Instead, she turned around. Toward Nia. Peter Langford's newspaper stopped halfway back to his face. Preferred suite 3K if available. Dana Mercer turned the tablet far enough for Nia to read the service note. Below the first line were two more. Courtesy request. No guaranteed receipt. The text sat beneath Evelyn Carrington's profile in smaller gray type. Nia read it once. Dana did not pull the tablet away. That's what her concierge sent? Nia asked. Yes. Before today? 2 days ago. Evelyn remained inside 3K. Her shoes were still beneath the footwell. The magazine now rested closed across her lap. "My office was told Westbridge would take care of it," she said. Dana looked toward her. "I understand." Nia looked at the screen again. The note did not say confirmed. It did not say operational. It did not say override. It said, if available. "Does anything else authorize changing a confirmed passenger?" Nia asked. Dana's thumb moved along the edge of the tablet. "Cabin leads have discretion to resolve seating and service issues." "That wasn't what I asked." Dana's mouth tightened for less than a second. "The request itself doesn't contain a reassignment instruction." Nia nodded. That was enough. She shifted her tote closer to the suite wall as another passenger moved past. Dana lowered the tablet. "Our premium teams are expected to make reasonable accommodations for high-value service profiles when we can." Nia looked at 3K. Evelyn had resumed holding the magazine. "She's already accommodated," Nia said. "She has 12C. Evelyn looked up. Dana answered before she could. 12C is in premium economy. There it was. Nia had wondered why a passenger with another confirmed seat would be so certain that 3K had been arranged for her. 12C was not another suite. It was a wider recliner, several cabins back. Evelyn's concierge had requested an upgrade in position without the system actually granting one. Dana had just shown Nia the proof. Tessa Alvarez came forward from the galley. "Boarding's almost through premium." Dana nodded. Tessa glanced toward 3K. "Do you want me to take Ms. Carrington back to 12C? Dana did not answer immediately. Evelyn's hand stopped on the magazine. "My office specifically asked for this seat." Tessa looked at Dana, not Evelyn. Dana checked the cabin display again. 3K still showed Nia. She tapped through the remaining suite map. Every other premium suite showed occupied or assigned. No green spaces. No replacement. Dana locked the screen. "Not yet," she told Tessa. 2 words. Tessa stepped back. Nia watched her return toward the galley. Dana turned to Nia. "What I can offer right now is 12C. It is a premium cabin product, and customer care can review the fare difference after arrival." Nia had paid for a door, a flat bed, and several uninterrupted hours before a morning meeting. 12C had none of those things. She did not explain the meeting. The product difference was already enough. "I bought 3K. I understand. It's still assigned to me." "Yes. And 12C is assigned to her." Dana glanced toward Evelyn. "Yes." Nia waited. Dana filled the space. "The difficulty is that Ms. Carrington is already settled here. Boarding is nearly complete, and her service request was placed in advance. None of those facts changed an assignment. They changed convenience." Evelyn had removed her shoes first. That had somehow acquired weight. Nia looked down the cabin. Passengers were closing overhead bins. A man was removing a jacket. A woman across the aisle had already plugged her phone into the console. Ordinary settling. Westbridge had procedures for asking passengers to stand again. It happened every flight. Dana was treating it as an unusual burden only in 3K. "Are you asking me to volunteer for 12C? Nia said. Dana pressed the tablet against her forearm. "I'm asking for some flexibility so we can get everyone seated." Nia let a second pass. "Is it voluntary?" Evelyn shifted in the suite. Peter Langford folded his newspaper along the center crease. He did not look directly at them now. Dana lowered her voice. "At this stage, yes." "No." Nia said it without emphasis. Dana looked at her. Nia added, "I'll use the seat on my boarding pass." The answer changed Dana's posture. Not dramatically. She moved the tablet from her forearm into both hands. A procedural stance. "All right," she said. "Then I need to look at what other options are available." Nia glanced at the cabin map. "You just did." Dana did not respond. She opened another screen. Not the seat map, a service reference page. Nia could see section headings but not the text beneath them. Cabin accommodation. Customer recovery. Boarding resolution. Dana scrolled. The concierge note had not given her the authority she wanted. Now she was looking for language broad enough to support the result anyway. Evelyn watched Dana work. No one asked her to put her shoes back on. No one handed her handbag from the compartment. No one pointed toward 12C. Instead, Nia remained standing beside the seat assigned to her while Dana searched a service manual. Tessa returned. "We're closing the forward bins." Dana nodded without looking up. "Keep 3K, as is for now." Tessa's eyes moved from Evelyn to Nia. "And Miss Brooks?" "Hold her here. I'm checking alternatives." Nia heard the word. Alternatives. Her confirmed suite had stopped being the starting point. Dana had already moved past it. The screen still said 3K. Dana's decision did not. Dana carried the tablet into the forward galley and placed it beside the coffee drawer. Nia stayed where Tessa had asked her to stand, just inside the curtain and out of the boarding lane. 3K remained less than 10 feet away. Close enough to see, not close enough to use. Dana picked up the interphone. "Can you confirm if anything opened in the premium cabin?" She listened. "No. I have the original passenger for 3K here." Another pause. "Yes, Carrington is still seated there." Dana looked toward Nia, while the person on the other end spoke. "No, Brooks hasn't accepted 12C. She did not say why." She ended the call and returned to the tablet. The cabin service screen had several fields that required almost no writing. Category, status, resolution. A few drop-down menus did most of the work. That was useful when crews were busy. It also meant context could disappear with one tap. Dana selected Seating Accommodation. The next field opened. Accepted. Declined. Pending. Her finger moved to the second option. Nia saw it. "What are you recording?" Dana kept her eyes on the screen. "That you declined the seating accommodation offered. 12C. Dana looked up. "Yes. My assigned seat is 3K. I have that." "Then include both." Dana gave a small breath through her nose. "The entry isn't a transcript, Ms. Brooks." "I understand." Nia's shoulders ached from the tote strap. She shifted the bag to the floor. "Then make the short version accurate." Dana's finger remained above the tablet. "It is accurate. You were offered 12C and declined it." "Because I already have 3K." Dana looked toward the aisle. The last cluster of passengers was boarding now. A man wrestled a coat into an overhead compartment. Tessa reached up, rotated the bag beside it, and made enough room without removing anything. Abnormal correction. 10 seconds. Done. Dana returned to the screen. "This is an operational note." Nia nodded once. "Then the operation started with someone else in my confirmed seat." For the first time since the seat problem began, Dana stopped answering immediately. Her thumb rested against the tablet case. Then she selected Declined. A second field appeared. Resolution status. She chose Pending. The system generated a line beneath it. Customer declined. Offered seating accommodation resolution pending. Dana read it before saving. Nia watched her. "Does that record say 12C?" "No." "Does it say 3K is still assigned to me?" "No." "Does it say why 12C was offered?" Dana's jaw shifted. "No." "Then it records my answer without the question." Dana pressed save. The tablet gave a short tone. "It's a cabin workflow entry. There will be an opportunity to add detail if this requires further reporting." It already required further reporting. That was what resolution pending did. It turned the seat disagreement into an unresolved cabin issue attached to Nia's name. Nia looked past Dana. Evelyn was speaking to a flight attendant from the opposite aisle. Her empty glass had been replaced with a fresh one. Nobody had marked her as pending. Nobody had asked whether she declined 12C. The seat assigned to Evelyn existed several cabins behind them, untouched. Tessa returned to the forward galley, carrying the final count sheet. "Premium is boarded." Dana took it. "Thanks." Tessa noticed the service screen still open. "Did we resolve 3K?" "Not yet." Tessa looked at Nia, then at Dana. "Do you want the seat detail in my handoff?" Dana turned the tablet face down against the counter. "I've entered the accommodation refusal." Tessa's fingers tightened slightly on the paper count sheet. "Refusal?" She declined 12C. Tessa looked toward 3K. "She's still assigned 3K, though." Dana's voice stayed level. "Yes." Tessa did not argue. She carried the count sheet to the side counter and opened her own crew device. Nia could see only part of the screen. Tessa entered a short service note beneath the forward cabin handoff field. She did not use the word refused. She typed, Brooks remains assigned 3K. 12C offered as alternate. Passenger requested original confirmed seat. Cabin lead reviewing. She checked the spelling, saved it, then locked the device. The entire act took less than 20 seconds. Tessa looked at Nia. I need to finish doors. Nia nodded. Go ahead. No gratitude speech. No meaningful exchange. Tessa went back to work. Dana had seen the note being entered. She said nothing about it. Instead, she picked up the interphone again. This time she dialed forward. Nia could hear only Dana's half of the conversation. Martin, I need a minute before we close this out. The cockpit. Dana turned slightly away. No, boarding is complete. She listened. It's a seating accommodation issue. Another pause. Yes. Passenger declined the alternate. Nia looked at the tablet lying beside Dana's hand. The note had already begun traveling faster than the facts around it. Dana continued. Original assignment is 3K. A longer pause. Yes, Carrington is in it. Dana's eyes moved toward Nia. The circumstances are a little more complicated than that. Nia almost smiled. Not because anything was funny. Because the complexity had appeared only after the system became simple. Tessa pulled the curtain aside and passed through with the final cabin check. Peter Langford had folded his newspaper completely now. He placed it into the side pocket and fastened his seat belt. 3K remained occupied. Nia remained standing. Dana ended the call. The captain wants a brief summary. Will he see the original assignments? Nia asked. Dana picked up the tablet. He'll get what he needs to make an operational decision. Nia looked at the screen. Her name was attached to Declined. Evelyn's was attached to 3K only because Dana had decided to leave her there. The cabin door was still open. For the moment, Dana walked toward the cockpit with the tablet in her hand. The cockpit door closed behind Dana Mercer. Nia could still see 3K from the forward galley. Evelyn Carrington had her reading light on now. The suite door remained open, but the space looked settled enough that anyone entering the cabin late would assume the person inside belonged there. Dana stayed behind the cockpit door for less than 2 minutes. When it opened again, Captain Martin Hale came out with her. He had no jacket on. 4 gold stripes ran along each shoulder. He did not begin with the seat assignment. Ms. Brooks? Yes. I understand we have an unresolved seating issue. Nia looked at Dana. The phrase had traveled intact. Martin continued. You were offered an alternative and declined it. I was offered 12C. Correct. My confirmed assignment is 3K. I understand that's where this started. Started. Nia noticed the word. 3K had become history before anyone corrected it. Martin glanced toward the main cabin door. A ground employee stood outside with a document pouch, waiting for the crew to complete the final closeout. We're at the point where I need the cabin settled, he said. Have you seen the original assignments? Dana's fingers tightened around the tablet. Martin answered without looking at it. Dana briefed me. Nia waited. He added, she's responsible for resolving cabin service matters. I'm not going to rerun the entire seating process while we're holding the door. He wasn't rude. That made the mechanism cleaner. Dana had brought him an unresolved passenger. He was solving one, not the sequence that created her. Tessa Alvarez came through the curtain, carrying a small stack of departure paperwork. Captain, the final count is ready. Martin took it. Tessa hesitated. My handoff note has the original seats, if you need it. Martin looked at her. Any safety issue? No. Any duplicate boarding pass? No. Then we'll handle the service record after departure. Tessa nodded. She did not argue. Her note existed. For the moment, existence was all it could do. Martin turned back to Nia. Is 12C still open? Dana woke the tablet and checked. Her thumb stopped. No. Nia looked at her. Dana opened the seat control history. 12C was released after the alternate was declined. Gate filled it during final seating. The transaction had happened while Nia stood 10 feet from 3K. Dana tapped the screen once. A simple sequence appeared. Carrington. 12C to 3K. Manual cabin adjustment. Below it, 12C had been assigned to another boarded passenger. No argument. No insult. Just a seat that no longer existed as an option because the previous decision had been allowed to harden inside the system. Martin asked, "What do we have left?" Dana checked. 38E. Nia knew where that was without opening a cabin map. Rear economy. Middle seat. Martin looked at her. "We can seat you in 38E and have customer care address the cabin difference afterward." Nia looked past him at 3K. Evelyn had drawn the suite door partly closed. "Not all the way." "Enough." "Or?" Nia asked. Martin held the departure sheet against one palm. "If you don't want the available seat, we can have you step off, and ground staff can address your ticket." The words were ordinary. That was the difference between an offer and an order. 5 minutes earlier, Nia could decline an accommodation and still point to 3K. Now, declining meant leaving the aircraft. She picked up her tote. "Are you directing me to 38E for this flight?" Martin met her eyes. "Yes." Nia nodded. "Then I'll comply." Dana opened the seat control screen. Nia did not ask her to explain it again. She watched instead. Dana selected Nia's passenger record. 3K disappeared beside her name. For 1 second, there was an empty field. Then, 38E. Dana confirmed. The system accepted the transaction. Tessa was close enough to see it. So was Nia. Martin handed the departure sheet back to Tessa. "Get her settled and close the cabin." Then he returned to the cockpit. He had been outside less than 5 minutes. The dispute was now resolved. The seat was not. Tessa walked with Nia through premium. At 3K, Evelyn did not look up. Peter Langford did. His newspaper remained folded in the side pocket. He watched Nia pass the suite, carrying the same leather tote she had been holding when Dana first read the 2 assignments. He did not speak. Past the curtain, the aisle narrowed. The seats changed shape first. Then the spacing. Nia moved through rows where passengers were already connected to charging cables, neck pillows set, tray tables locked. A flight attendant farther back waited for her to pass before closing an overhead bin. 38E was between 2 occupied seats. The man at the aisle stood. The woman at the window pulled her coat closer to her knees. No one knew why Nia was arriving this late. They only knew the cabin had been ready, and now someone needed to get in. Nia placed her tote under the seat ahead. It did not fit completely. She turned it sideways. The aisle passenger sat again. Tessa handed Nia a small bottle of water. Nia took it. "Thank you." Tessa stayed half a second longer than necessary. Then she returned forward. The cabin door closed several minutes later. The sound traveled poorly that far back. Nia felt the pressure change more than she heard the latch. She took out her phone. Her mobile boarding pass still showed the earlier saved version. Suite 3K. She took a screenshot. Then she opened her messages. Jonah Pike had sent one while she was being moved through the cabin. "Final Blue Harbor release window opens at departure. You're still the account approver. 6 containers remain pending your release." Nia read it. Her thumb stayed above the keyboard. She could have answered immediately. She didn't. The seatbelt sign came on. A second notification appeared from the Blue Harbor Freight portal. Release status. Pending departure. Approver. Nia Brooks. Nia locked the phone. 38E did not recline far. Her knees nearly touched the seat back ahead. Up front, 3K had a door. For now, both systems were still waiting. 40 minutes after takeoff, Nia still had not opened her laptop. There was nowhere useful to put it. The tray at 38E came down far enough to hold a drink and a phone. With the seat ahead reclined, the laptop screen would have opened only partway before touching the plastic seatback. Nia tested the angle once. Then she put the computer away. The aisle passenger shifted his knees so she could reach her leather tote. He did it without complaint. The woman at the window was asleep under a gray blanket, one shoulder pressed against the sidewall. Nia took out her phone. The Blue Harbor portal had refreshed. 6 containers appeared in a vertical list. Each line now showed final carrier data: accepted weight, seal status, destination handling station, custody point. 5 fields carried green confirmation marks. 1 field was gray across all 6 records. Carrier handoff confirmation not received. Nia opened the first container. Same field. Second. Same. The release button remained active. That did not mean she was supposed to press it. A message from Jonah Pike appeared. Westbridge posted the final weights. Still waiting on handoff confirmation. Nia typed with both thumbs. Did they transfer custody? The reply came while the service cart stopped 2 rows ahead. Physically, yes. Their station team says the acknowledgement is being closed out. They asked if we can release now and let the record catch up. Nia read the sentence twice. It was common enough. A truck arrived. A container changed hands. Someone was busy. The physical work got ahead of the paperwork, and the next person was asked to sign as though the missing step had already happened. Most of the time, nothing went wrong. That was why people kept asking. Nia opened the Blue Harbor control note attached to the release queue. It was short. Final release transferred responsibility for the shipment record from Blue Harbor custody control to carrier handling. Once approved, the acknowledgement could still be added later, but the release would carry the approver's name and time. Her name, her time. The cart reached 38E. Tessa Alvarez placed a paper cup of water on Nia's tray. Anything else? No, thank you. Tessa looked at the closed laptop under the seat. Sorry about the space. Nia moved the cup away from the edge. It's fine. Tessa continued down the aisle. Nia returned to the portal. Jonah sent another message. They say the units are already positioned. Downstream team wants the release before they start their morning intake. Nia looked at the gray field again. The cabin rocked lightly. Her elbow touched the man beside her. She pulled it in. She typed, "No release against an incomplete handoff record. They can post the confirmation and I'll review immediately." Jonah did not answer at once. Nia locked the phone and rested it on the tray. The airline had already decided one problem was resolved. Dana had moved on. The captain had returned to the cockpit. Evelyn had 3K. Nia had 38E. Those decisions were finished because Westbridge had made them finish. The cargo record worked differently. It did not care that the containers were already in place. It did not care that someone wanted to close the task. The missing field remained missing. Her phone buzzed. Westbridge is asking whether you'll authorize an exception. Nia unlocked the portal again. There was an override function beneath the release control. It required an approver to select a reason. Operational urgency. Carrier confirmation pending. Customer-directed exception. Nia did not touch it. She messaged Jonah. No exception. This isn't an emergency. A few seconds later, understood. The 6 records remained pending. Nia put the phone down and tried to stretch one leg into the narrow space beneath the seat ahead. Her tote blocked half of it. Up front, the suite she had purchased included a flat work surface large enough for the laptop now trapped beneath her feet. She did not look toward the curtain. There was nothing left to establish there. Her work was here. 10 minutes passed. The portal refreshed automatically. The green release controls disappeared. A yellow status bar replaced them. Nia opened the first container. The system had not assigned blame. It had simply reached the end of the release window without the required carrier confirmation. The header now read, "Hold carrier confirmation required." All 6 containers carried the same status. Jonah called through the portal's audio function. Nia declined the call and sent a message instead. "Can't talk from the cabin. Anything changed?" His answer came quickly. "No. Westbridge Cargo Desk wants to know who placed the hold." Nia studied the wording. She had not placed it. She had declined to certify around an incomplete record. The distinction was already beginning to matter. She typed, "Tell them Blue Harbor did not receive their handoff confirmation before the release window closed. Send the status exactly as shown." Jonah replied with a checkmark. Nia opened the record history. The system had preserved the sequence without interpretation. Carrier data received. Final review opened. Handoff confirmation absent. Release not approved. Window closed. Automatic hold applied. Each line had its own timestamp. No adjective. No summary. No one had typed difficult, declined, uncooperative, or unresolved. The phone dimmed in her hand. Nia touched the screen once to keep it awake. At the top of the 6 records, the status remained unchanged. Hold carrier confirmation required. This time, the word hold had a reason underneath it. Customer release not received, appeared beneath the 6 Blue Harbor containers. Nia had not seen that line before. She opened the first shipment record. The yellow hold remained at the top. Below it, the carrier field still read, Carrier handoff confirmation, not received. A new Westbridge service exception sat underneath. Cause, customer release, not received. Nia read the 2 fields in order. Then again, they described different failures. Her phone buzzed. Jonah Pike had sent a screenshot from the Westbridge cargo portal. They moved it to external customer ownership. Nia typed, Did they complete handoff confirmation? No. A second message followed. Cargo desk says the shipment can't move because Blue Harbor didn't release. They want us to acknowledge the cause code so their exception can close. Nia looked at the service exception button. Acknowledge cause. The aircraft lights had been lowered. Most passengers around 38E were watching screens or sleeping. No one near her could see that 6 freight containers were now sitting inside 2 different administrative stories. In Blue Harbor's record, Westbridge had failed to complete a required handoff confirmation before the release cutoff. In Westbridge's new ticket, Blue Harbor had failed to release the freight. The second version was shorter. Short versions traveled better. Nia opened the exception detail. The cause code mattered because it assigned the next task. Carrier process issues returned to Westbridge operations. Customer authorization issues went into the external account queue. Someone had moved the problem across that line with a drop-down. Jonah messaged again. They're saying this is the fastest way to keep the case moving. Nia pressed her lips together, then released them. She knew that sentence too. A temporary code. A practical workaround. Something that could be corrected later. By the time later arrived, the temporary field was usually the first thing the next person read. She typed, Don't acknowledge it. Then, reply in the ticket. No phone debate. Jonah waited. Wording? Nia placed both thumbs over the keyboard. She deleted her first attempt. Too long. The second one was 3 sentences. Blue Harbor did not request a customer hold. Carrier handoff confirmation was absent when the release window closed. The Blue Harbor platform applied the hold automatically. She sent it. Jonah copied the language into the Westbridge ticket. Nia watched the activity log update. Blue Harbor response, received. Then nothing happened for almost 4 minutes. The cause code stayed the same. A flight attendant passed with a trash bag. The aisle passenger handed over an empty cup without waking fully. Nia refreshed the cargo record. Still there, customer release, not received. Jonah sent another message. They want to know if you'll approve release now, if they add the confirmation afterward. Nia checked the carrier field. Still gray. She answered, When the confirmation is posted, I'll review the record. That was all. The request was not difficult. The shipment was not being rejected. The control was not ambiguous. Westbridge had possession of the 6 containers. Blue Harbor needed Westbridge to confirm that possession in the shared record before Nia transferred final release responsibility. The missing step belonged to the party asking her to ignore it. Her phone buzzed again. They've escalated internally. Nia did not ask to whom. There was no value in collecting titles before facts. She opened the audit view instead. The automatic hold had 1 timestamp. Blue Harbor's written explanation came later. The Westbridge cause code came later still. That order mattered. The airline could now say the cargo was delayed because Blue Harbor had not released it. But its own exception ticket had been created after the system had already recorded why release could not complete. Nia took a screenshot of the activity sequence. Then she stopped. A screenshot was useful for her. The original server record was better. She messaged Jonah. Preserve the ticket as submitted. Don't ask them to edit the existing entry. If they change the cause, let them add a correction. Jonah replied, Understood. Nia returned to the 6 containers. Another Westbridge update appeared. Someone had added a free text note beneath the cause code. Blue Harbor approver declined release, pending additional carrier documentation. Operational delay, attributed to customer authorization. Nia's thumb stopped above the screen. The first sentence was technically assembled from real pieces. She had not released. She was waiting for carrier documentation. The second sentence changed what those pieces meant. Jonah messaged before she could answer. They've submitted the exception. Nia opened the ticket history. The status had changed from draft to active. No one could silently replace the original entry now without leaving another event in the audit trail. She sent Jonah one final message. Leave our response exactly where it is. Then she locked the phone. Several rows ahead, a reading light clicked off. 38E remained narrow. The cabin remained Westbridge's space. Dana still owned the service version of what had happened before departure. But another part of the airline had just created its own record. This one carried its own problem. The active exception ticket showed the cause as customer authorization. Directly above it, the untouched carrier field still read, Carrier handoff confirmation not received. Both entries now belong to Westbridge's permanent history. Tessa stopped beside 38E with the crew tablet held against her palm. Nia looked up from her phone. Ms. Brooks? Yes. I have a ground operations message for you. That was new. Tessa turned the screen enough for Nia to read the header. Ops Relay. Nia Brooks. Blue Harbor Final Release Approver. Below it was a short request from Westbridge Cargo Operations. They wanted direct acknowledgement of an active service exception involving 6 Blue Harbor containers. The cause listed beneath the request was familiar. Customer release not received. A second field remained open. Carrier handoff confirmation not received. Nia looked at Tessa. They sent both? That's what came through. The two lines had finally traveled together. Nia unlocked her phone and opened Jonah's last message. The Westbridge exception remained active. Blue Harbor's written objection remained directly beneath it. They already have my response in the ticket, Nia said. They're asking whether you'll acknowledge the cause directly. I won't acknowledge that cause. Tessa waited. Nia pointed once at the lower field on the crew tablet. The carrier confirmation is still open. My response is in the existing record. No title, no explanation of Blue Harbor's size or the value of the cargo. Tessa tapped the screen. Do you want me to tell them you're declining the acknowledgement? Nia considered the wording. Tell them I gave no verbal acknowledgement and directed them to the written ticket. Tessa's finger paused over the text box. Then she typed exactly that. Before she could send it, a yellow banner appeared across the tablet. Active Customer Service Resolution. Lead review required. Tessa read it once. Her thumb moved to the related event. Nia recognized the first line when it opened. Customer declined. Offered seating accommodation. Resolution pending. Dana's note. The same sentence that had reduced a confirmed suite assignment, a manual seat transfer, and Nia's request for an explanation into something that sounded like a customer refusing help. Tessa did not comment. She scrolled. The seat history was underneath. Nia Brooks, 3K. Evelyn Carrington, 12C. Then the manual changes. Carrington to 3K. Brooks to 38E. Tessa stopped there. A smaller service entry sat below the seat movement. Her own initials were beside it. Nia had never seen the wording. Tessa had entered it before takeoff. Passenger asked whether reassignment was required. No refusal to travel observed. Lead continued resolution. Tessa's eyes went back to Dana's line. Then to hers. Then to the yellow routing banner. The tablet had not decided which note was more accurate. It had simply treated Dana's adverse entry as the controlling service status because she had been the lead who opened it. That status was now deciding how a cargo message reached Nia. I need her review before this goes back to ground, Tessa said. Nia leaned back against 38E. Then let the record show that. Tessa gave a small nod. She did not ask why someone authorized to release 6 Blue Harbor containers had been moved from 3K. Nia did not offer the answer. That question belonged to another record. Tessa returned to the forward galley. Nia reopened the Westbridge cargo exception on her phone. Jonah had added nothing. Good. The original carrier confirmation field was still open. The customer cause entry was still active. Blue Harbor's objection sat between them with its own timestamp. Nia closed the screen. For the first time since boarding, she did not need to create another explanation. Westbridge already had enough. At the forward galley, Tessa placed the crew tablet beside a stack of paper cups and opened the lead review screen. Dana was finishing a service count. "Ground relay," Tessa said. Dana held out her hand. Tessa gave her the tablet. Dana read the request. Her index finger stopped against the edge of the case. "Blue Harbor?" Tessa said. "Ground operations matched the listed approver to the manifest." Dana read the name again. Nia Brooks, 38E. She opened the related passenger event. Her own note appeared first. Then the seat control history. Then Tessa's neutral entry. Dana scrolled back to the ground relay. Did she say what her position is? She confirmed she's the listed approver. What did she say about the cargo? That her answer is already in the written ticket. She wouldn't acknowledge the customer cause wording. Dana's mouth tightened slightly. Did she refuse to assist? Tessa's hand remained on the counter. "I recorded what she said." Dana looked down. Tessa's relay entry was visible beneath the ground request. Passenger provided no verbal acknowledgement. Passenger directed ground operations to existing written ticket. No refusal. No disruption. No attitude. Only the action. Dana touched the passenger service event again. The cabin note still carried her earlier language. Customer declined. Offered seating accommodation resolution pending. She had written it before she knew what Blue Harbor was asking Nia to decide. That did not make the seat decision right or wrong. It did remove one excuse Dana had been able to use privately. That Nia's questions came from someone who simply did not understand how operational decisions worked. Dana opened the seat history. 3K, 12C, 38E. The same sequence Peter had watched at the door. The same movement Tessa had documented without calling it a refusal. The tablet chimed again. Ground operations had updated the relay. Direct acknowledgement still requested. Beneath it, unchanged. Carrier handoff. Confirmation not received. Dana read that line twice. Then she returned to her own passenger note. For the first time, Nia Brooks appeared on the same screen as both versions Westbridge had created about her. One called her an authorized approver. The other still called her the customer who declined. The first thing Dana changed was the verb. The original service event still sat on the crew tablet. Customer declined. Offered seating accommodation resolution pending. Below it, a new field had opened. Add clarification. Dana rested the tablet on the forward galley counter. Tessa stood across from her, sorting unopened beverage cans into a drawer. "I'm cleaning up the seating event before arrival," Dana said. Tessa closed the drawer. "Okay." Dana typed. Passenger accepted alternate seating after premium options were exhausted. Matter resolved without further cabin action. She stopped before submitting it. The sentence was easier to defend than the first one. It did not say Nia had refused. It also did not say that 3K had been confirmed to Nia before Evelyn's courtesy request appeared. It did not say 12C had belonged to Evelyn. It did not say Dana had decided to keep Evelyn in 3K before searching service resolution language. And it did not say Captain Martin Hale had given Nia a choice between 38E and leaving the aircraft. Tessa read the screen from where she stood. My note says she asked whether the move was required. Dana kept one hand on the tablet. "I'm not changing your note. Are you changing the category?" Clarifying the resolution. Tessa looked at the original line again. Dana submitted the amendment. The system did not replace the first entry. It stacked the second beneath it. Original author, Dana Mercer. Amendment author, Dana Mercer. 2 separate times. Dana scrolled past them. The yellow resolution pending banner changed to Resolved alternate seating, accepted. Tessa watched the status update. "She complied with the captain's direction," she said. Dana looked up. "Yes. That's different from accepting an alternate." Dana picked up the tablet. She took the seat. Tessa did not answer. The interphone chimed from the cockpit. Dana took the call. Martin's voice came through low enough that Tessa could not hear every word. Dana listened. "Yes. Ground matched her through Blue Harbor." Another pause. "No, there isn't a security issue." She looked at the service event screen while Martin spoke. "I revised the note so it reflects the final disposition." She listened again. The original is still there. Dana's thumb stopped at the amendment history. "Yes." A longer pause. Then, because the first wording was too narrow. She ended the call. Tessa had returned to the beverage drawer. Dana opened the ground relay again. The cargo request had changed. Carrier handoff confirmation received. A timestamp sat beside it. Several minutes earlier, the field had been gray. Now it was green. Below it, the old Westbridge exception still read, "Customer release not received." Dana scrolled once. Blue Harbor's prior response remained beneath that cause code. No customer hold requested. Carrier confirmation absent when release window closed. Automatic hold applied. Dana looked toward the curtain separating premium from the main cabin. She did not move. At 38E, Nia's phone vibrated. She opened the Blue Harbor portal. All 6 containers had updated at once. Carrier handoff confirmation. Received. The system restored the release control. Nia opened the first record. Seal information matched. Weights matched. Destination matched. Custody acknowledgement now carried the Westbridge station entry Jonah had been waiting for. She checked the other 5. Same status. No new discrepancy. Nia pressed final release. The portal asked for authentication. She entered it. A confirmation screen appeared. Release approved. The remaining 5 records updated immediately afterward under the same authorized batch. Nia sent Jonah one message. Confirmation is complete. All 6 released. He responded less than a minute later. Received. Downstream team notified. Nia locked her phone. She did not message Westbridge passenger service. She did not ask Dana to come back. She did not mention 3K. The cargo issue had reached the condition required for approval, so she approved it. Up front, Dana's tablet chimed. The ground relay refreshed. Blue Harbor release received. Another line followed. All units released after carrier confirmation posted. Dana read it. Then she opened the cargo exception. The cause code had not changed. Customer release not received. The ticket now contained a sequence anyone could read. Carrier confirmation missing. Blue Harbor declined to acknowledge customer cause wording. Carrier confirmation posted. Blue Harbor release approved. The active cause remained customer authorization. Dana backed out of the ticket. Her passenger service event reopened automatically because the ground relay was still linked to Nia's manifest record. 2 versions sat one above the other. The first, customer declined, offered seating accommodation resolution, pending. The second, passenger accepted alternate seating after premium options were exhausted. Matter resolved without further cabin action. Tessa's earlier note remained below both. Passenger asked whether reassignment was required. No refusal to travel observed. Dana scrolled to the seat history. 3K to 38E. 12C to 3K. No operational defect attached to 3K. No duplicate assignment. No safety block. Only the manual transactions. Martin came out of the cockpit. Cargo cleared? Yes. Then ground should close that piece. Dana handed him the tablet. He read the latest relay. Then the passenger amendment. When did you add this? Just now. Martin looked at the 2 service entries. Why? The first note made it sound more adversarial than it was. Martin kept reading. Dana added, "She ultimately took the alternate. After I directed her to." Dana's jaw shifted once. Yes. Martin handed the tablet back. Then don't lose that distinction. He returned to the cockpit. It was not an accusation. It was enough to make Dana reopen the amendment. She did not change it again. The version history was visible at the bottom of the screen. Original note. Before departure. Seat transfer. Before departure. Captain direction. Before departure. Blue Harbor identity match. In flight. Cargo contradiction. In flight. Clarification. After all of them. Dana lowered the tablet onto the counter. The wording was cleaner now. The timestamp was not. Peter's finger stopped above the first option. The arrival desk screen had already filled in most of the cabin downgrade form for him. Passenger, Nia Brooks. Original cabin, premium. Original seat, 3K. Final seat, 38E. Service event. Resolved. Beneath that, the system had imported Dana Mercer's latest wording. Passenger accepted alternate seating after premium options were exhausted. The next field Asked Peter to select a reason. Voluntary accommodation. Operational seat change. Involuntary cabin downgrade. He did not click any of them. Passengers were still coming off the aircraft behind him. Wheels struck the metal joint between the jet bridge and terminal floor. One man stopped to reorganize 2 shopping bags. A woman stood against the wall, waiting for a stroller. Nia came through carrying her phone and coat. Peter lifted one hand. "Ms. Brooks, I need 2 facts for the seat adjustment." She stopped beside the desk. "What facts? Did you volunteer to leave 3K? "No." He looked at the screen. "Were you given the option to remain there?" "No." That was all she said. Peter nodded once. "Thank you." Nia started toward the terminal. Peter did not ask what she did for Blue Harbor. He had been at the aircraft door before departure. He had seen Dana open the seat display. He had seen 3K beside Nia Brooks and 12C beside Evelyn Carrington before either assignment changed. The screen in front of him now carried a different implication. Peter opened the seat transaction history. 3K had no defect code, no maintenance block, no duplicate passenger. The manual move showed Carrington entering 3K first, then Brooks moving to 38E. Peter selected Involuntary Cabin Downgrade. A warning box appeared. Selection conflicts with Resolved Service Event. Confirm source. The first available source was already checked. Cabin-led resolution. Peter unchecked it. He selected Station Observation, Transaction History. The system opened a note field. Peter rested both hands beside the keyboard before typing. He kept the sentence narrow. Observed cabin lead review both confirmed assignments before manual seat changes. Passenger Brooks did not initiate reassignment. He read it once, then submitted it. The screen did not accept the case as complete. A gray banner replaced the normal recovery options. Classification discrepancy. Supervisory review required. Peter leaned back slightly. The easiest path had been the first box. Accept the imported resolution. Process whatever compensation followed. Close the case. Instead, the file stayed open. Tessa stepped off the aircraft several minutes later, with the crew tablet tucked under her arm. Peter called her name. She came to the desk. "I have a discrepancy on Brooks." Tessa set the tablet down. "Seat change? Cabin event says accepted alternate. I coded involuntary." Tessa looked at him. "Why?" "I watched the assignments before the change." He turned the monitor enough for her to see the imported sentence. "Tessa, read it." "That's Dana's clarification." Peter opened the earlier service entries. The original appeared above it. Customer declined. Offered seating accommodation resolution pending, then Tessa's note. Passenger asked whether reassignment was required. No refusal to travel, observed. Led continued resolution. Peter pointed to the last line. "You wrote that before the move? Before departure. Did you hear her volunteer?" "No." "Did you hear Dana tell her it was optional?" Tessa considered the question. "I heard Brooks ask whether she had to move. I did not hear her offer the seat." Peter clicked the witness field. "Can I use that?" "Use what I observed." He entered Tessa's employee identification through the staff lookup and attached her existing note rather than rewriting it. A second prompt appeared, asking whether the witness supported the imported service resolution. Peter read the choices. Confirms. Does not confirm. Insufficient direct observation. He moved the cursor aside. "Tessa?" She read the prompt herself. "I don't confirm accepted alternate." Peter selected the middle option. Tessa tapped her badge against the reader. The status changed. Witness does not confirm resolution language. Neither of them said anything about Blue Harbor. They did not need it. The seat transaction existed before anyone on the aircraft learned Nia's role. The witness notes existed before that too. Across the terminal, Nia sat near a charging column and opened her boarding pass in the airline app. It still showed the flight as completed. Seat 3K remained under the original itinerary. A second line showed the final seat assignment, 38E. No explanation. Her email refreshed. A Westbridge service message appeared. Your seating adjustment is under review. Any applicable fare or service recovery will be processed after classification is complete. Nia read the sentence and locked the phone. There was nothing for her to argue with yet. At the desk, Peter opened the recovery case again. The classification discrepancy now contained 4 entries. Dana's original note, Dana's later clarification, Tessa's contemporaneous note, Peter's station observation. The screen arranged them by timestamp. Peter did not have to decide which employee had acted with what motive. His job was smaller. He had to decide whether he could truthfully call the move voluntary. He could not. A notification appeared on Dana's crew tablet while she was still completing the post-flight cabin closeout. She opened it. Downgrade reason, contested by station. Below that, station observation does not support voluntary accommodation. Then, cabin witness does not confirm resolution language. Dana's hand stayed on the tablet. She opened Peter's note. Read it. Opened Tessa's. Read that too. Then she went back to her own clarification. Passenger accepted alternate seating after premium options were exhausted. The word accepted remained exactly where she had put it. A new button had appeared at the bottom. Forward for supervisory review. Dana no longer had the option to mark the discrepancy, resolved herself. She pressed the button. The status changed. Review pending. The form divided the event into 2 columns. Reported to command. Observed by command. Captain Martin Hale read the headings twice. The workstation sat in a small operations room beyond the arrival gates. His jacket hung over the chair beside him. A paper cup had gone cold near the keyboard. Most of the crew had already cleared customs. The review request had arrived before he finished his post-flight paperwork. It was not asking whether he believed Dana Mercer. It was asking what he knew. The first column had been populated from the cabin record. Passenger declined available seating accommodation. Passenger later accepted alternate seating. Below it, customer cargo release delayed departure. Martin placed both hands on the desk. Neither sentence described something he had personally watched happen. He clicked the first line. The system offered 2 source labels. Direct observation. Received report. He selected the second. Then he did the same with the cargo sentence. The next box asked what he had personally observed. Martin began typing. He wrote that when he reached row 38E, Nia Brooks was seated in the assigned economy position and was not blocking the aisle. He wrote that he then reviewed the passenger assignments. Brooks, 3K, Carrington, 12C. No duplicate assignment appeared on the display he reviewed. He stopped. There was another question. Had command independently verified seat assignments before initial cabin direction? Martin looked at the cursor. His first instruction had been to clear the aisle and complete seating so the aircraft could continue departure preparation. At that point, he had accepted Dana's explanation that the cabin crew was resolving a premium seating conflict. He had not opened the seat history himself. He selected No. A text field appeared. Martin typed one sentence. Initial direction relied on lead cabin report before independent review. He did not soften it. The next section asked what changed after he reviewed the records. Martin entered that he directed Evelyn Carrington to return to 12C and Nia Brooks to 3K. Then he reached the cargo section. A timeline opened automatically. Blue Harbor shipment release had been suspended after Brooks was moved from the premium cabin. The next entry showed the aircraft load still pending. Then came the command review. Then the seat correction. Then the Blue Harbor release. The spacing between the final 2 entries was short enough that Martin did not need an explanation from Nia to understand the sequence. The shipment had not simply been waiting for a customer who forgot to release it. The customer had been waiting for the carrier to resolve something. Martin opened the cargo exception. The existing cause remained. Customer release not received. He could not edit the cargo department's field. He could attach a command observation. Martin typed, Shipment release received after carrier completed passenger seating correction, requested by authorized shipper contact. Sequence should be reviewed before final delay attribution. He signed the chronology. His employee credential populated the bottom of the page. The system locked the text. Across the terminal complex, another notification appeared on Dana's tablet. She was sitting in a crew room with her roller bag against the wall. The message did not accuse her of anything. Command chronology added. Dana opened it. She read Martin's first source label, received report, not direct observation. Then she reached his answer about the initial command decision. Initial direction relied on lead cabin report before independent review. Her thumb stopped against the edge of the tablet. She scrolled farther. Martin had not called Nia disruptive. He had not written that she refused a valid option. He had not repeated accepted alternate seating. Dana returned to the review thread and added a comment. Cabin terminology reflected service resolution workflow rather than a legal determination of consent. She stared at the sentence, then submitted it. It was a narrower defense than the one she had started with. The review system attached her comment beneath the original note instead of replacing it. 3 versions were now visible. The first said Nia had declined an accommodation. The second said she had accepted alternate seating. The third said those words were service terminology and were not meant to establish consent. Each carried its own timestamp. Martin saw the notification appear. He opened Dana's latest comment, but did not answer it. There was nothing he needed from her. The chronology already contained the distinction that mattered. What Dana had told him, what he had seen, what he had done, and when. Elsewhere, Nia was in the back seat of a hired car moving away from the airport. Her old leather tote rested beside her. She had placed the boarding pass inside it, rather than throwing it away with the coffee receipt and baggage wrapper. Her phone vibrated. Westbridge had updated the service case. Seat change classification, involuntary. A second line remained unresolved. Operational delay attribution, under review. Nia read both lines. She took a screenshot, then put the phone face down on the tote. No message followed, asking for her title. No one requested proof of Blue Harbor revenue. The seat classification had changed because the records no longer supported the earlier description. Back at operations, the cargo exception refreshed on Martin's screen. The customer cause field was still visible, but a yellow marker had appeared beside it. Cause contested command chronology attached? The release timestamp sat directly beneath the note. For most of the evening, that timestamp had been treated as the moment Blue Harbor finally cooperated. Now it marked something else. It showed what Westbridge had to correct before Blue Harbor did. The reviewer dragged 4 records onto the same worksheet. Nia could see only the shared portion of the screen. Westbridge had scheduled the call as a customer fact confirmation, not an employee hearing. Her camera was off. A legal pad sat beside her laptop in the London office, untouched except for the time she had written in the upper corner. The reviewer started with a reservation record. Original seat? 3K, Nia said. The screen showed it. Confirmed before boarding. No later passenger requested change. The next record opened beside it. Evelyn Carrington, 12C. A service preference appeared beneath her profile, but the assigned seat remained 12C. The reviewer did not interpret it. She asked one question. Do you see any second assignment to 3K? No, neither do I. She marked the line. No duplicate seat assignment identified. Nia wrote nothing. The reviewer opened the cabin entry, cabin accommodation. Under it sat Dana Mercer's first explanation that Nia had declined one option and later accepted another. The reviewer selected the source column, crew entry. A second note appeared. Tessa Alvarez, contemporaneous record. Original assignment 3K, confirmed. Passenger relocated at lead direction. Source? Cabin crew observation. The reviewer marked it separately. Then came Peter Langford's statement. Short. No opinion. He had watched Dana look at the tablet before describing the situation as a seating problem. He remembered Nia asking which seat had actually been assigned to the other passenger. The reviewer did not ask whether Peter thought Dana was biased. That question was not on the worksheet. She opened the command chronology instead. Martin Hale had marked Dana's initial explanation as received information rather than direct observation. He had also recorded that he issued his first instruction before independently reviewing the seat assignments. The reviewer read his sentence aloud. Initial direction relied on lead cabin report before independent review. Nia looked toward the window. A delivery truck stopped below the office building. The driver climbed out, checked a clipboard, then walked around the back doors before opening them. On the call, the reviewer moved to Dana's later comment. Cabin terminology reflected service resolution workflow rather than a determination of consent. The cursor paused beside it. This was entered after the seat classification was challenged, the reviewer said. Nia looked back at the laptop. Yes. The reviewer checked the timestamp, then the earlier timestamp, then Tessa's. She moved the 3 entries into chronological order. The first said Nia declined an accommodation. The second said she accepted alternate seating. The third said those terms were never intended to determine whether she consented. The reviewer highlighted all 3. Nia finally spoke. Can I ask one question? Yes. Was there any point in the reservation history where my seat was duplicated? The reviewer checked the source column again before answering. No. That was all Nia needed from that section. The cargo record came next. For days, the visible cause had remained customer release, not received. Below it now sat Martin's attachment. The reviewer opened the timestamp chain. Nia's relocation had occurred first. Blue Harbor's hold followed. Command review followed that. The seat correction came next. Blue Harbor released the shipment after the correction. The reviewer placed the events in a vertical sequence. No adjectives, no explanation, just system times. The current customer cause designation does not describe the full sequence, she said. Nia waited. The reviewer removed the designation from the preliminary finding. She did not replace it with a dramatic admission. The field changed to final operational cause, pending review. That mattered more. The old label was no longer being treated as fact. The reviewer moved back to the passenger section. I'm going to read the proposed factual finding. Stop me if I attribute an action to you that you did not take. Nia picked up her pen. The reviewer read slowly. Nia had boarded with a confirmed assignment to 3K. Carrington had a confirmed assignment to 12C. No duplicate reservation had been identified. The lead flight attendant reviewed the seat information before directing Nia to a different cabin. No contemporaneous record showed that Nia requested the change. A second flight attendant documented the relocation as lead directed. Command initially acted on the lead flight attendant's report, then independently reviewed the records and reversed the seating decision. Blue Harbor's cargo release occurred after that correction. The reviewer stopped. Anything inaccurate? Nia looked down at the legal pad. She had written only one phrase. Keep the sequence. No. The reviewer locked the factual section. A gray banner appeared across the top. Factual chronology preserved. Below it, 3 routing fields populated. Cabin standards. Employee relations. Commercial account review. Dana's name remained in the case. Martin's did too. So did Nia's. But none of them could edit the preserved chronology. The reviewer explained that employee findings would be handled separately from customer service recovery. Commercial consequences would be evaluated separately again. The different teams could reach different decisions about discipline, compensation, and account handling. They would all start from the same sequence. Nia closed her legal pad. Before ending the call, the reviewer asked whether she wanted to add a statement about her position at Blue Harbor. No. The reviewer waited. Nia added, "My position didn't assign the seat." The reviewer typed nothing. She only nodded and ended the recording. A few minutes later, Nia received the preliminary factual notice. She opened the PDF and scrolled past the administrative language. At the bottom was the preserved chronology. 3K, 12C, lead directed relocation, command correction, cargo release. The facts were ordinary when separated from the explanations built around them. That was the problem. They had been ordinary from the beginning. At Westbridge, the case status changed one more time. Frontline editing closed. The people who had made the original decision were still part of the case. They were no longer in charge of what the case said had happened. Jonah stopped with his coffee halfway to the conference table. First one came in. Nia looked up from the contract draft on her laptop. The email was from Westbridge Commercial Account Review. Another message sat beneath it from Customer Relations. A third had arrived overnight from the Supervisory Case Portal. No executive called her. No one asked for a press statement. The system was doing what systems usually did after a finding, separating one event into different kinds of responsibility. Nia opened the supervisory notice first. Dana Mercer remained employed. The first paragraph made that clear, before it described anything else. Employee Relations had found that Dana possessed accurate seat assignment information before directing Nia away from 3K. It also found that her later entries used language suggesting passenger choice that was not supported by the contemporaneous record. The consequence was narrower than dismissal. Dana was removed from consideration for an international lead assignment for one scheduling cycle. During the review period, discretionary premium cabin seat relocations on flights where she served as lead would require station seat control confirmation before departure. Nia read that sentence twice. It did not punish Dana by taking away flying entirely. It took away the exact kind of unchecked discretion that had caused the problem. Jonah leaned against the table. That's specific. Yes. The notice also said a sample of comparable cabin service complaints would be reviewed for pattern indicators. Not every complaint. Not every flight Dana had ever worked. A defined sample. The wording was dry. That made it harder to dismiss as theater. The next document came from Flight Operations. Eric Dunn's name appeared under a section labeled Supervisory Decision Support. He had accepted Dana's description of a seating conflict and supported clearing the aisle before independently confirming the assignments. His later explanation that cabin leads were normally trusted on passenger placement matters was included in the finding. So was the problem with it. Trust had replaced verification at the point when verification was available. Eric was not suspended. His captain upgrade evaluation would be delayed for one review cycle, with an added requirement covering independent verification when a crew report affected a passenger's confirmed cabin entitlement. Martin Hale received a documented command debrief as well. His initial reliance on the cabin report remained in his training record. The review also noted that he later checked the source data, corrected the seat decision, and created the signed chronology that allowed the dispute to be reconstructed. Different records. Different consequences. Nia closed the file. She had spent enough years running Blue Harbor to know what bad discipline looked like. Sometimes it was too soft to matter. Sometimes it was designed to look decisive rather than improve anything. This was neither clean nor satisfying. It was traceable. Jonah opened the commercial email. Westbridge had removed the remaining customer cause attribution from the cargo delay record. The final operational note linked the hold to a commercial release suspension that remained within Blue Harbor's account authority, initiated after an unresolved onboard service dispute and cleared after carrier correction. The 6 containers would not carry a customer fault marker into performance reporting. That matters, Jonah said. It does. Blue Harbor used carrier reliability data. When allocating future freight, a customer-caused hold and a carrier resolution delay did not land in the same column. Jonah turned his laptop toward her. The next quarter tender was still open. Before the flight, Westbridge had been positioned to receive most of the London allocation. Nia studied the lane volumes. Split it. Jonah did not touch the keyboard yet. Half? Start there. With whom? The secondary carrier already qualified for the lane. He nodded. There was no need to explain why. Blue Harbor depended on predictable handoffs. Westbridge had eventually corrected the flight, but the correction had required a cargo hold, command review, several records, and a supervisory case before the underlying facts were treated as facts. That was an operational risk, not a personal feud. Jonah entered the revised allocation. Exclusivity? They can earn it back. He saved the change. Westbridge would still carry Blue Harbor freight, just less of it. The customer relations email was shorter. Westbridge approved a partial fare refund tied to the premium service failure and returned the applicable seat service charge. It also offered reimbursement for documented expenses associated with the extended handling of the complaint. Nia downloaded the notice into the same folder as the preserved chronology. Then she opened the final customer disposition. Evelyn Carrington had submitted a request for goodwill compensation tied to the departure delay. Westbridge denied it. The reason was narrow. The review found that she had occupied a suite not assigned to her and had declined to return to her confirmed seat when first directed. The airline would not compensate her for inconvenience arising from the correction of that seating issue. There was no travel ban, no account closure, no public sanction. Her reservation history remained otherwise unchanged. Nia read the paragraph once and closed it. Jonah gave a small nod toward her screen. Anything else? One thing. The refund notice included a service calculation, a line for the seat failure, a line for the administrative handling, a line for reimbursable expense. Each had a dollar value beside it. Nia looked at the numbers and remembered why she had bought $3,000 in the first place. She had not purchased it for the meal or the glassware or the curtain around the suite. She had purchased hours. 5 uninterrupted hours before the London meeting. No refund field contained those. Her phone buzzed with the revised freight allocation notice. Westbridge had already acknowledged the reduced award and requested a commercial performance review before the next tender cycle. Nia forwarded it to Jonah. Put it on the normal quarterly agenda. Not a special meeting? No. He closed his laptop. Outside the conference room glass, 2 Blue Harbor analysts walked past carrying printed rate sheets. One stopped at the copier. The other kept moving toward the operations floor. Work continued. Nia returned to the partnership agreement. At the bottom of the Westbridge refund notice, the system had marked the customer recovery item complete. The money could be returned. The hours could not. The chair at the other end. The partnership agreement lay open at the chair farthest from the conference room door. Nia placed her old leather tote beneath it and sat down. The London office was already operating around them. A printer worked behind the glass partition. Someone rolled a cart of coffee cups past the doorway. On the wall screen, the Blue Harbor logo sat beside the logo of the company whose executives had spent 7 months negotiating this agreement. Jonah took the seat to her right. You want the latest appendix? Nia held out her hand. He passed it over. Her navy blazer had survived the flight better than she had. She had changed after landing, washed her face in the hotel room, and spent 20 minutes reviewing the final draft before the car arrived. The plan had been different. 5 hours of sleep, shower, breakfast, one final review. Instead, she had slept in pieces and read the same paragraph 3 times in the hotel because the words kept losing their place on the page. She turned to the pricing schedule. The meeting began on time. No one asked about Westbridge. No one commented on the hoodie folded inside her tote. The first 40 minutes stayed where the work belonged. Volume commitments, data access, warehouse integration, and responsibility when a shipment missed a transfer window. One issue remained. The partner's general counsel tapped a clause with a capped pen. This says implementation within 30 business days. Nia looked at the appendix. The schedule there said 30 calendar days. She put her finger beside the second line. Which one controls? The lawyer leaned closer. Jonah stopped scrolling. The counsel compared the pages, then turned toward one of her colleagues. Business days was the negotiated language. Then the appendix needs to match it, Nia said. That's right. No argument followed. No one explained why she should accept the difference, because correcting it would be inconvenient. The counsel marked the page. A junior associate carried the revised appendix to the printer. Nia watched the empty space where the paper had been. The comparison came without her asking for it. A wrong line had been found. The person responsible for the document had checked it. Then the document was being corrected. That was all. Jonah slid a glass of water toward her. You okay? Nia drank half of it. Tired. He nodded once. She did not turn tired into fine. She also did not make it the room's problem. When the replacement pages arrived, the counsel checked both copies before placing one in front of Nia. Business days. Nia read the line herself. Then she initialed the amendment. The discussion moved to minimum throughput. That one lasted longer. Blue Harbor wanted flexibility across more than one carrier. The other company wanted predictable volume through the London operation. Nia understood both positions. Blue Harbor could not build a resilient freight network by promising that one route, one warehouse, or one carrier would always behave as expected. She proposed a threshold that protected the partner's baseline volume without forcing Blue Harbor into unnecessary concentration. The finance director ran the numbers. Jonah checked the lane model. A coffee cup went cold beside Nia's left hand. The counsel pointed to the carrier allocation section. This removes the single carrier assumption for the London lane. Yes, Nia said. Permanent? Reviewable. Not automatic. The finance director looked toward Jonah. He turned the laptop so they could see the allocation model. Westbridge remained in the lane. Its former majority position did not. No airline name was discussed beyond what the model required. The council changed the clause to require qualified secondary capacity whenever Blue Harbor's concentration threshold was exceeded. "That works," the finance director said. The revised wording stayed on the screen while the associate printed the page. No one in the room knew what had happened in Suite 3K. They did not need to. The operational lesson could survive without becoming a story about Nia. By late morning, the stack of unresolved items had become a single yellow note. Then, the note disappeared. The signature pages came out. There was no ceremony. The partner's managing director signed first, turned the packet, and pushed it across the table. Nia checked the company name. Blue Harbor Freight Systems. She checked her title. Chief Executive Officer. Then she signed. Jonah added his initials to the operational schedule. Across the table, the general counsel gathered the replaced pages into a separate pile, so no outdated version could be returned to the final packet by mistake. That detail pleased Nia more than it should have. The managing director closed his folder. "We'll have implementation start Monday." "We'll be ready," Nia said. Chairs moved back. One executive left immediately for another meeting. The finance director took his calculator and coffee with him. The junior associate counted the signature pages before placing them in a document sleeve. The deal was finished. Nia remained seated for several seconds after the others began filing out. Not because she wanted to mark the moment. She was simply tired enough that standing immediately seemed unnecessary. Jonah stayed beside her. He checked his laptop. The revised carrier allocation just posted. Nia looked over. The London lane showed 2 qualified carriers. Westbridge occupied one column. The second carrier occupied the other. The old concentration line was gone. Jonah closed the screen. "Worth the trip?" Nia looked at the signed agreement. Yes. It was not the answer to a larger question. It was the answer to his. On the flight, Westbridge had possessed the correct seat assignment before Dana moved her. The information had not been missing. Nia's later cargo authority had not made the original decision wrong. It had made ignoring the decision expensive enough that someone higher in the system finally compared the records. The records had done the rest. Dana had lost access to the kind of unchecked lead discretion she had used that night. Eric's upgrade review had been delayed because he had reinforced a cabin decision without independently checking the data available to him. The customer fault cargo marker had been removed. Evelyn had not been compensated for inconvenience created by preserving a seat that had never been assigned to her. Westbridge still carried Blue Harbor freight. It no longer carried as much. None of those outcomes erased what had happened. They simply meant the record no longer rewarded it. The refund had arrived too. A value for the premium service failure. A value for eligible expenses. A completed customer recovery case. None of the fields contained the hours Nia had bought when she chose 3K. There was no reimbursement code for entering a negotiation after sleeping badly because someone else had decided her confirmed seat was easier to move. She stood. Jonah picked up the signed packet. Nia reached beneath the chair for her tote. At the hotel that afternoon, she opened it on the end of the bed. The navy blazer went onto a hanger. The signed partnership copy stayed on the desk for the next morning's implementation call. At the bottom of the bag was the charcoal hoodie, the same one the gate employee had read before, fully reading her boarding pass. The same one Evelyn had seen before handing her an empty glass. The fabric had acquired no new status in London. No title. No explanation. Nia smoothed one sleeve, folded the hoodie, and placed it back inside the old leather tote. It had never needed one. This is a fictional story.